Hey, my name is Harvey and I love Resident Evil. I've played almost every single one of the games, replayed so many times, and I just think they are so amazing. Resident Evil is actually my favorite franchise of horror games. I just love them. So I thought, why don't I just rank them on a tier list from S to D? And here's what we're doing today, so let's get right into it. Okay, so firstly I'm going to start off with the ones that I haven't played. I will not be giving my personal opinions on. I may just leave them undone, but we will see once we get to them. But the ones I haven't played, I will try to not get involved in because I'm not going to be giving my opinions on games which I haven't played. Okay, so firstly, let's get into the ones I have played. I'm going to be fair though. I'm going to be fair with every single one. Okay, so Resident Evil 4 Remake. Okay, so I got this game when it came out. I played Separate Ways 2, and the remake was impeccable. It was so good. They did such an amazing job, and it is really refreshing to see a good remake with barely any cuts, and if not more improvements than the Resident Evil 3 remake. Now, I think this remake was great, and that is why I am genuinely going to put it right at the top of the list. It just deserves to be there. It just deserves it. The game is incredible, and if you haven't played it, I recommend you do right now. Okay, so next on the list, I'm going to do the original Resident Evil 4. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this because it is the original, but I do think that the remake did have some improvements compared to the original. The remake was a lot better for me, and I just personally believe that the Resident Evil 4 original version slots him just beneath the remake because the remake, in my personal opinion, was that good. Both of them are amazing, but based on the graphics, the story, the way everything was in Resident Evil 4 Remake, I'm gonna have to put it at the top of the list compared to the original, but don't hate me for it. Okay, so next we're going to be doing Resident Evil 6. Now, I think after Resident Evil 4, they really did go downhill. Resident Evil 5 just wasn't the same. Resident Evil 6 just wasn't the same. Resident Evil 7 just wasn't the same. Resident Evil Village was quite good, but I do believe that them making you pay just to have a third-person view of the game I think it was a year or so after the game came out, is completely unacceptable. I really do think that since Resident Evil 4, ignore the remakes, since the original Resident Evil 4 up until the remakes of Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, they went incredibly downhill, and I think that Resident Evil 6, especially Resident Evil 6, was a terrible game, and I think a lot of people will agree. Obviously there's going to be some people's personal opinions on it, but I genuinely believe Resident Evil 6 is right at the bottom of the list. Okay, so next is going to be Resident Evil Biohazard. Now this is Resident Evil 7, it's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, whichever you would like to call it. I'm going to be putting that in C. Now you may think I'm not being generous enough because that game has a lot of aspect of horror. That was quite I would say a scary game compared to the others, but I just don't think it cuts it. I prefer the older Resident Evil games and the remakes of them. I think Resident Evil 7, in my opinion, although it was a great game, they really just missed the spot again. They really missed the ball. And that honestly is really disappointing because when the game came out, everyone was very hyped. They thought it was going to be the same type of vibe. But when they switched over to the whole Ethan Winters storyline, I really think they missed the ball because original Resident Evil fans wanted to see more from old characters. They wanted to see what happened next, what goes next. And I think starting this whole new storyline when there is so much more to be explored in the older games with the older storylines, I think they really missed the ball, and that's why I'm putting that directly at C. Okay, so Resident Evil 5, let's go there now. So, as I did say, after Resident Evil 4, they did completely miss the ball, but I am going to say Resident Evil 5, although it wasn't a great game at all, I do believe that it is on the same level as Resident Evil 7. Now again, you're going to think, has this guy even played the games? Yes, I have played most of them, and I do believe that Resident Evil 5, although it is a terrible game, compared to the rest. I mean, obviously it has its fans, but because of that, I'm going to be placing it at C. I don't think the game was good. I don't think the game had a lot of redeeming qualities. The way the game was also made, like the way you control the game too, I didn't like the camera movements. I didn't like the story, although it did have Wesker in it, and of course Jill Valentine. I do believe the game just wasn't at the top of the list, just wasn't there. Okay, so I think next we should do Resident Evil Village. Now, I didn't mind Resident Evil Village. I thought the game was quite good. I really liked the story. I played it on Xbox at the time, and when I got it, I spent hours. I completed it in the first day. The game was so fun. I really did enjoy it. I did not like the first person aspect. I have mentioned that obviously they did come out with a third person camera view, but you had to pay for that, which I don't think is fair. But Resident Evil Village was a genuine solid game. I really do enjoy that game, and I cannot wait to replay it in the near future. So that is why that one is going at B. Okay guys, next is Reverse. Now I'm instantly putting that at D. I think that was a terrible game. A multiplayer shooting type of aspect, I just don't think they should have even included that. I don't think that game was good at all. For me, it was included with Resident Evil Village. At the time when I played it, it wasn't out. I played it and it just wasn't great. I don't think it should even be on this list, and that's all I'm going to say from that. Positive note now. So Resident Evil 2, A, for sure. That game is awesome. I actually love the remake of Resident Evil 2, but I'm going to say, as you know, S. I'm going to put it right at the top of the list, and that is because Resident Evil 2 remake is great, and I think in this case, the original should be directly at the top of the list. And this game is awesome. I suggest everybody plays this game, the original and the remaster. They are just incredible games, and I suggest everybody go and play them. Okay, next is Resident Evil 2. Now that is going at A. I don't think it would be fair for me to put that right at the top because the original was just so good. But the remake was the best remake made before Resident Evil 4 remake came out, before the remake of that one came out. It was just a great game. It really stood out, and I love how they redid it so perfectly and how they kept so much of the original in. I think that was just awesome. And we're going to go on to Resident Evil 3 next, and I think that they really let us down with the Resident Evil 3 remake, and I'm so happy that we have the Resident Evil 4 and 2 remakes that are almost better than the originals. Okay, Resident Evil 3, now that one is going in B. Now that is because the remake, they cut so much, they just missed the ball with the whole game. I really don't like the way they did it. This is a common conversation within the community. The game really just wasn't it. Now the original is amazing, and they really did just miss the ball with the remake. I think they really did, and I don't know why they cut so much and why they didn't fully remake it. I don't know if they were rushed, I don't know if they were behind schedule or what it was, but the Resident Evil 3 remake, although what is included is good, I really don't like the fact they cut so much and missed out so much. So that is why that's going B on my list. Okay, Resident Evil 3, the original, that is going A. I wouldn't put it at S because I don't like Resident Evil 3 as much as I do the ones at the top, but I think the game is a solid one. It's unfortunate we didn't get to see it in full remake with everything included. I hope they probably won't, but I really hope they do at some point in the future remake the remake with everything included, because so disappointing. But the story was great, the game was great, and I really did enjoy it. So that's why that's going at A. Okay, so we're going to move on to some of the ones that I don't like at all, which don't really need explanation. Resident Evil Resistance, D. Revelations, D. Revelations, D. Just no. I don't agree with those games. I don't like the Revelations ones. You can call me a fake Resident Evil fan if you'd like, that's fine, but those games are just absolutely terrible. And I don't even need to say anything more about those. Okay, so here we go. We're shoving these right at the top right away. Resident Evil 0. Now, I genuinely cannot say this enough. Resident Evil 0 people are surprised when I say it. Resident Evil 0 was my favorite Resident Evil game. I loved the game so much. The game had so much content. I loved the story, and I recently did another replay on hard mode, and it was just, I just love the game, and it's a game I love to go back to and replay. I tried to do some replays of the newer games, but it just doesn't hit as much as Resident Evil 0. I don't know if it's because it was one of the first I played or what it was, but that game is just incredible, and I love it so much. Okay, so right at the top of the list again, we're putting Resident Evil. Now, the original, hey, I played the HD remaster. Now, I couldn't find any way for me personally on my system and stuff like that to play the original. I just played the HD remaster, which was on Steam. I'm pretty sure nothing much was changed apart from a few things. I know the remaster wasn't like, it's not like they do, it's not how they do remakes now. Back then, it was just a HD remaster because of the original game, its quality. But I got that one that was on Steam. So I did play this one a little more recently, obviously way after the release date, but I played that one more recently and I didn't manage to find a way to play the original. But that game is top-notch incredible. Chef's kiss. I love Resident Evil. I love the original. I prefer Resident Evil 0, but the original is also amazing and I just love it. And that is why that is going right up there on S. Okay, so next is Code Veronica. Now, I'm putting that as a B. I never managed to finish the whole game. Now, I know it's wrong to rate it, but it's currently standing at a B. From what I played, which is about halfway, I personally believe it should stay at B, in my opinion. Okay, so we're putting Resident Evil 1 right at the top again. I didn't play the original, but the HD remaster. So that's going right at the top. Same game, awesome. Just obviously the HD remaster was a little bit better on the eyes. So that's my ranking of that. Okay, so now we're gonna do Resident Evil: The Dark Side Chronicles. Let me find it here. Here it is. That's going, I'm sorry, but that's going D. I didn't like that game. I really don't like that game. I haven't actually played it, but I did go out of my way to watch a full playthrough of it. I do not like that game. It's just one of those where they've just missed the ball again. I'm not going to get into it, but I personally don't like that game at all. Okay, Umbrella Corps. That is going right at D. I did not like that at all either. I just think there's... I'm not going to get into it. I just think if you know, you know. And I don't think that deserves to be any higher than D. Okay guys, so next is Resident Evil Survivor. I'm putting that one at C. Now listen, again, this may cause controversy or an argument even, but I actually did like that game. Now that, I don't know what it is, but the concept of it I think was just like fun. It was just different, you know? And I think that that game in particular, in my opinion, does deserve to be higher than a D. I think it is I honestly think it's a great game. And obviously it doesn't compare to the rest at all. And I think, honestly, looking back, I think it is a bit harsh putting Resident Evil 5 down there. I think I'm going to move that up to B because, obviously, Resident Evil 5 is much better than Survivor. And I don't think it's fair putting that there. So we're going to make it fair. I'm moving that up to B. But Resident Evil Survivor, not a bad game. I think you guys should check it out and give me your opinions. Okay, next, Resident Evil Survivor 2. I need I say more. Okay guys, so next on the list is Resident Evil Outbreak and Outbreak 2. They are both going there because I think, okay, they're different. They're unique games, and I think that if you have played them, you would understand. But the games, I just think it's a unique twist, you know. It's different, and I do like them, to be honest with you. And honestly, they're too good to be on the D tier because the rest of them on the D tier are just terrible. So in my opinion, they belong right there in C. Okay guys, Resident Evil The Mercenaries 3D is going 3D. It's going right at the bottom because that game, in my opinion, is just not it. Okay guys, so this is my list done. Now there are 4 games at the bottom left, but I have not played them, so I don't have any right to rate them. So yes, that is my list, and I am so very much excited. But also, I've got to mention, there is a Resident Evil Veronica in the works, and a Resident Evil 0 remake in the works. I'm so excited. I cannot wait. And once they are ready to pre-order, I will be purchasing instantly, because those games are just chef's kiss. Well, Resident Evil 0 chef's kiss, but I'm sure the Veronica remake will be awesome. But thank you for watching. Make sure you guys do your tier list. I'll make this a link in the description. You can have mine, you can do your own, go crazy, but this is my personal opinion and I love to see others too. So let me know what you think of my list and be sure to like and subscribe. So have an amazing day and goodbye, guys.